Well, in the Western world, we have almost 90% of the population using coffee, and nobody particularly considers it a problem because everybody's using coffee. Why are we using coffee? We're using coffee because we're not getting enough sleep. If you take enough sleep during the night, you don't need to take stimulants during the day. In fact, stimulants seem stupid to you. I mean, useless, pointless. Why would anybody want to take a stimulant? You won't be able to focus in like you could when you're just your normal self. You're on drugs. But when you're tired, stimulants start seeming like maybe a viable option. And then the problem gets worse because you use stimulants, they make you even more tired. There's no energy in a cup of coffee. I mean, we measure energy in terms of calories, and coffee has no calories. So there's no energy, but yet you have a sense of energy. The energy came from you. It actually drains, it stimulates your adrenals and to drain your vital reserves so that after the use of coffee, you're even more tired than you were before the coffee. It perpetuates and furthers the problem. Coffee to me, well, first of all, I mean, you're talking about making a drink by turning the seeds of fruit into charcoal, grinding it, pouring perfectly clean water through the ashes of what was left from the seeds, and then drinking that sludge, basically, because it's going to be a pick-me-up to make up for the fact that you didn't get enough sleep. I'd much rather see people just get the sleep, fresh air, sunshine, be active, and feel really healthy, and never have any desire for stimulants. We don't even have to look at the health deficits of coffee, of which there are many. We can simply say, it's an unnecessary item if you're taking good care of yourself.
Coffee and tea are also plant drugs, and we don't think of them that way. We tend not to use the word drug when it's normal, but alcohol, coffee, and tea are drugs. Coffee and tea, we've been using them for a very long time. They've been acceptable for a very long time, but not always. And they were, coffee, we believe, was discovered with the help of goats. Abyssinian herders, goat herders, noticed that their goats, and goats are the great experimenters in nature. They will just nibble a little bit of everything to see what happens. They would notice that they particularly liked the berries of a particular bush. And that led the herders, supposedly, to experiment and discover that in those berries was a seed, and that if you consume that seed, especially after roasting, you would feel really good, very alert. It would sharpen your senses, but you would feel differently than you did before. Tea, very similarly. It changes your mood. And why is this? Well, in the case of coffee and tea, we think it's caffeine, a compound that they both contain. Although the experience of coffee and tea is very different and can't simply be explained by levels of caffeine. Like most of these substances, there are many drugs involved, and we tend to focus on that one active ingredient, but there may be a great many compounds that are affecting the experience. So there's an example of two drugs that our culture celebrates. And some people would argue that the drugs that a culture chooses to celebrate are the ones that kind of helps it function most smoothly. So, for example, coffee and tea became acceptable during the Industrial Revolution. These were good drugs to take if you had to work a really long day and you were in a factory and you needed to stay alert. They did not impede the wheels of capitalism, In fact, they lubricated the wheels of capitalism. Cigarettes did too. Tobacco, another plant drug. And yet there are other drugs that get in the way of, say, the smooth workings of capitalist economy, and marijuana would be one of them. People don't really see the need to work. It diminishes the ambition and drive and makes people content with what they have. So that may be one of the reasons that in our very fast, achievement-oriented society, marijuana has been demonized.
The problem with caffeine is that it masks fatigue. Let's break it down, let's chunk it down. Quick video, concise, direct to the point. How does caffeine fucking work? Caffeine is a pesticide. It's a naturally occurring pesticide. In that little coffee plant or in the cacao plant, it's to stop animals eating too many of the seeds. Because if you eat the seed and crush it up, the plant can't reproduce. So the seed, the caffeine, is a natural pesticide. It kills animals who eat in large dosages. So what happens is when humans have caffeine, we don't die, but the body goes, wow, it's a neurotoxin. That's what it is. It's poison, but it's actually classified botanically. Caffeine's a neurotoxin, so it can kill the brain cells. You consume caffeine, the body, or theobromine, which is in cacao, chocolate, etc. The body goes, woof, neurotoxin, release adrenaline. What does adrenaline do? Adrenaline pushes the fight or flight hormone, pushes sugar into the cells, gives you a boost of energy, also vasodilates your arteries to get increased blood flow. Yeah. So you're having the caffeine, it's a neurotoxin, so your body releases adrenaline. Most people don't know how to understand how caffeine works or theobromine. They don't understand. They just go, yeah, I'm tired. Boom, have some coffee, have some caffeine. You don't question it, do we? I'm tired, have a coffee, mate. You're tired, you're thirsty, means you haven't drunk enough coffee, mate. You're tired, means you haven't drunk enough coffee, mate. Have some cacao, So when you have these stimulants, you mask fatigue. You delay your growth hormone response, because when you're tired, you should get some water or get some sugar or have a nap. Do all three. Have some water, have some sugar, have a nap. Restore, regenerate, replenish. You want to replenish your body versus get it G'd up. I mean, definitely you can use caffeine if you want, but I wouldn't be using it more than once a week or something. Because the caffeine, I mean, people go, once a week? I have like 10 cups of coffee a day. I have 4 cups. I have a cup of coffee a day. I have 2 cups of coffee a day. Get up, try and go take the kids to school, etc. We need to adjust our lifestyle, because all caffeine does long term, it just brings you up to level, but it just drops you off. Eventually, you're going to have to pay that depreciative effect, that mask fatigue. It's like caffeine's a fucking credit card, right? You buy energy today, but you're going to be paying back the interest later on. But I don't care, I just want it now, I want it now. That's fine, do that, but you will be paying it back. That's why a lot of people get off the caffeine, get in a healthy lifestyle, might gain some weight or whatever, because they just thrash their metabolism. They don't sleep, they're just like, and they're emotional nut jobs to be around. I mean, if you know, like, people get fucking strung out on caffeine. So I would recommend that give caffeine a flick for a couple of years or something. Just understand that it is a neurotoxin. And if you're going to use it sparingly. And only use it early in the morning versus after training or in the evening. I wouldn't use caffeine past 9 a.m. really. Unless you're a professional athlete at the Olympics and you've got to zing it down 300 milligrams to get out a couple of seconds. Otherwise, caffeine, don't use it daily, and I would recommend giving it the flick. And I'd say fuck off coffee, because coffee becomes too social. If you're going to use caffeine, use it in pharmaceutical dosages so you know what you're getting, and then it's less of a social thing. Caffeine's a social drug. My grandmother's a drug addict. She's a caffeine addict. She's like 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day. She always, you want a cup of coffee? You want a cup of coffee? So she doesn't drink water. She drinks caffeine or tea. So it does, in my opinion, chemically damage people. Well, caffeine, people can debate. No, it's not true. Caffeine, it's a fucking neurotoxin. So if you want to take it, but don't be deluded. Caffeine is botanically classified as a fucking neurotoxin. There you go.
Coffee is one of the last legal highs. And it is a high. I mean, I have to attribute the success of Starbucks to the fact that they sell a drug that people love. And that's caffeine and coffee. But there's more to coffee than just caffeine. Caffeine sure gives you a nice buzz, but there are all kinds of other alkaloids in coffee that can be positive or negative. I'm going to talk to you mostly about the negative issues. Let's start with caffeine. Well, caffeine stimulates you, wakes you up, makes you feel better. It's a great high. In fact, when you quit it, you might get depression. So that's why people drink caffeine. But you can overdo it too. You can get so high that you can become non-functional from the stimulation of caffeine. So be careful, to say the least. Be careful. But there are other alkaloids in the coffee that cause problems. For example, there's an alkaloid, which is not caffeine, which causes acid secretion and acid indigestion. So you're not going to get rid of the indigestion. You're not going to throw away your antacid pills by switching to decaf coffee. You have the same kind of problems if you switch to decaf because it's due to the other alkaloids. coffee raises cholesterol, and decaf coffee raises cholesterol even more than regular coffee does. So that's about a 10% rise. So you want to give the coffee up if you're worried about your lipids. Every coffee drinker knows where every bathroom is in town because it's stimulating both the bladder and the bowels. So that's another reason you want to maybe consider making a change away from drinking coffee. It's an addiction. I have no doubt about it. You stop drinking coffee and you'll get a headache. You'll feel withdrawal. You may get depressed. This is a serious addiction. So I ask you to treat it as if it's a serious addiction. When you're ready to quit, then make that decision. Just say no. Give it up. Suffer the headaches for a couple of days. They call it a bad habit for a reason. That's right.